Welcome, real people, real conversations. This is your host, Lori, speaking. Let's get this conversation started. So I was thinking about tonight just to have a conversation of just current events, just a couple of different topics that are going on today that probably people are sitting home talking about. The first thing that comes to my mind was what happened with Jussie Smollett. So I have Andrew here today. Welcome, Andrew. How are you?
How you doing, Lori? Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we're just going to have a conversation. We'll just go, I was thinking we'll go from like one topic to the next. And the first one that just came to my mind, I'm sure you were watching on the news too, was the whole thing that happened with Jussie Smollett. And
yes,
that was just horrible. Did you think that it wasn't real from the beginning? What did you think? Did you believe it at first, or?
Well, you don't know what to believe anymore when it comes to those kind of situations because, how people always try and attack on the president, but I had my questions about it, but what do? You sit back and you wait for the, for really everything to come in so you could actually sit there and evaluate for yourself. But it really came down to, it turned around to where it's a liberal person who actually got caught, that they have them on video, practicing what they were going to do. And basically what it comes down to, if that was a Republican, your life would be over. Forget about it. But now that it's a liberal, I can guarantee you it gets washed under the rug. It's not a big deal. It's like nothing. They stick together, so they have to protect each other.
That's what does scare me. Do you notice that? Why is that if you're a liberal, socialist, Democrat, like whatever you want to label it, it seems to just get swept under the rug? But you and I both know, and I'm sure people that are listening, if this was a Republican or somebody that was for Trump, conservative, whatever, and did something like this, and it was a hoax, they would, what? Guess what? They would be in jail already. How about that? That's what I think.
Their life gets destroyed. And not only their life, and then they'll go after family members to start asking them questions. To where when the shoe's on the other foot, it just doesn't go that way. It just doesn't go that way. It's a two-sided situation. That's how the system runs now.
I know.
You have these people out there that they live to put out these talking points just to try and make a point. And just like when you're talking about Somalia, he's sitting there making a statement, and then basically it's all false. And it was basically just to increase his, movie things. Maybe someone else will pick him up, get his name more famous. And look, and maybe he's copying Kaepernick. He got paid $60 million for kneeling at a football game where football players don't even get paid that. Maybe they all should start kneeling and get all that money when they all go out there and work hard every single day. Yeah. And they could have a career injury. And here you go. It just goes from Kaepernick to this. And the liberals always stick together. They just do.
And nobody says anything about Kaepernick either.
Nothing. No one says nothing.
And you know what I would like to know? So he ended up with $60 million. Do you think he'll put that to a good cause?
No, he's going to put that to that he got $60 million, start doing some talk shows, write a book, and he'll get paid more money.
What was the reason he even was nailing at first? What was the whole point of that?
Against the police. It was all against police and black. And do I agree that there's issues out there? Yeah, but there's not issues what he was making it to be. And it just became so blown out of proportion. It just wasn't right. There's a time and place to do everything, and what he did was horrible. I want to watch a football game. I don't want to watch a guy kneeling.
Right. Well, he brought something that he felt strong about. Let's just say if it did start out all innocent and he really just felt strong about something, he brought it basically to the workplace. Could you bring something like that to your workplace?
No, that's what I was just going to say. In my workplace, you get fired. So that's the real world. And the world that he's living in was not the real world.
Well, guess what? I guess for him it
He
was.
got paid $60 million to keep his mouth shut now.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Well,
what the outcome is. And then you have to feel bad for every single football player out there that get these $2 million, $3 million contracts, and they could have a career and then injury in one game. This guy just got paid $60 million.
for kneeling.
It's unfair.
It doesn't make sense, right?
So basically, what it goes back to what's going on with the current events today. It's almost like a hoax. It's just another thing. It just leads into another thing. It never ends.
Right. So we don't even know what's going to happen, right, with this kid, Jussie Smollett. Like, what'll end up happening with him? Is there going to be a lawsuit? Because I've seen something on the news where they said, now watch, he'll become the victim.
No, well, they want to question him, but he's and his lawyer keeps saying, "Oh no, he stands by his story." They want to question him because they've seen a video that basically shows him planning the whole entire thing. They already got the proof that he went to the stores, bought a lynching rope and everything. Am I saying the guy doesn't go through bad things? No, everybody does. You know, it doesn't matter, white, black, green, blue. It doesn't matter. We all go through things in life, but what he did is it was all about him. It had nothing to do with people.
Right.
If it is true that it's a hoax,
And they're showing that he planned it out.
90% it is true because what's coming out on it. But hey, there's still a 10% chance. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it just comes down to showing you that people, and they do it for themselves, their own publicity. Has nothing to do with trying to help people.
No.
That's where the movie stars and all of them are out of touch because they
Right.
do nothing for the people. I'm not saying all of them because some people do the right thing, but I'm just saying when they all put their 2 cents in situations, they jump on board before they even know what's going on.
Right. And do you remember the conversation that we had the last time? We were talking about gender neutral.
Yep.
And I said, this is just the beginning. It'll go from, it started with Hollywood, that it seemed like that's the trend, that one person had a baby, then another person had a baby. And now the big thing is, I'm raising my child, gender neutral. I just seen an article where a couple in Florida, they named their baby Sparrow. They're saying it's not a boy and it's not a girl. And Sparrow's parents referred to the baby using they and them. So now in that household, they're not using he or she. It has to be they or them. Remember I said this is not going to go away? This is just going to keep going?
But it just goes to show you where, in the household where things are going. From when we grew up in our time to what it is today. It's just a different world, different things, and then that's where you have to start worrying. What's the world going to be in the next 10 years, 20 years? Because you sit back and you say, all right, you know what? You'll get the butt end of it, just like I will, because we'll be too old. You'll see things coming in, but could you imagine what our children and then their children are going to go through if this trend keeps going?
Well, somebody said recently, I don't know who it was that said this, but basically they don't know any better, these kids. So the kids that are growing up and now they're in schools with a child that's gender neutral because maybe that child didn't figure it out yet, because he's only 5 or she's only 5, that these kids that are growing up and they're in kindergarten, they're not going to know any better. They'll just come home and say, oh, mommy, no, we say they and their. We can't say he or she. And they'll just go with it.
It'll be the schools that'll jump in on that, and teach our kids that because they do teach our kids things that in a household, your normal household, would be like, no way. And then you have like this new generation coming up saying, oh no, that's, they got to be aware, they got to know these. It's not a world like that. They want to make it a world like that, but it's just not a world like that. The problem is when you go through generations, it came to where when our parents grow up, What did they? They had to use phone calls, a regular house phone. They had no beepers. They had no cell phones. Then it became, when they had kids, then it was beepers, and then suddenly cell phones came out. Then after that comes out, then social media came out. So all we did is we enabled our kids, because each parent, and I'm just as blamed as anybody else, you want your kids to have all these things. And you keep giving it. But you know what? What happened to the kid going outside and just going to play baseball with his friends? Or the girls going to dance and hanging out and doing that? Those days are gone.
I know.
Now it's all about social media. Everything, anywhere you go, it doesn't matter where you are, and you'll see as I'm saying this. If you go to a doctor's office, if you go to today, my wife and I, we were in an office for just go file some papers, and everybody's on Facebook or Instagram or something. Whether it's old people, the old people are trying to keep up with the young people, but it's the young people they just keep this going. And guess what? It winds up being that there's no communication. There's nothing except texting and going through social media. That's why social media became like a bully thing, and these kids have hard times, because you say things on that. When you're face-to-face with people, it's a lot different. You can always work things out. But when you're not face-to-face, it becomes a major issue, and that's where the world is turning now. You're not talking directly to people. You're going through, when you look at movie stars, or Instagram, Facebook,
and it
Twitter,
stays there forever. So it's not like somebody said something.
And then news picks it up and starts putting it out there. So everybody's brainwashed.
Right. And I just feel that if whoever was on Facebook saw that article, and these young kids that are so impressionable, first of all, like a child is so, their minds, you can put anything into a child's mind. Are we forgetting about this? Like, where are the social workers, psychologists?
Here's the perfect example. The perfect example is, you got you used to have the PlayStation, Nintendos, and everything, and then the games started getting crazy. So then you have these doctors that come on TV and start saying, oh, yeah, that's what's bringing out this violence in kids now, because they're on these games and they believe it and they think it's real. Well, what do you think social media is doing?
Right.
It's the same thing. They're on that more.
Right.
They're on that more. That's their life.
And think about these young parents that are raising children. Think about it, Andrew. No matter how you raise your child, young minds can be influenced. It just can. A young person in their 20s, and if this is the God, it's like you're being brainwashed.
When we were kids, you're right, but when we were kids, it was called peer pressure. And then
right.
The difference was with peer pressure, you were in the face of someone where you were going to say yes or no.
Right.
Now, you're on social media. It's so easy to say yes.
Right. And
because you're not looking at anybody.
And you're seeing Hollywood do it. Now, other parents, the minute Hollywood does something, do you notice that? It becomes a trend.
Well, you know what?
Why is that? It's ridiculous.
I give it like this. Listen, at the end of the day, when you look at anybody who's in Hollywood, I don't knock them. I don't knock them when it comes to their workmanship, because that's hard work. What all those people do, very hard. Think about it. Making a movie, being away from their families, that's hard work. But when they go out there and start exploiting and making statements out there and trying to get into a political arena, they're out of touch. They're not in the real world, because, listen, they're not even at home taking care of their own kids because they're out working so much. They just don't get the full reality of what everyday people go through.
Right.
They just don't. They don't get it.
And
they think they do.
Right. But then this is what people are buying. Like, they're buying into this. And they're seeing this. And this is what everybody thinks is so great. Oh, look, so-and-so's doing it. So this is how I'm going to raise my child. And it just becomes this, like, the in thing to do. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. It's hard for me.
Because it's a different world.
Yeah.
It's a different world today. And that's where, when you go into like the presidency, you look at, all right, presidents and everything. And am I a Republican? Yes, I'm a Republican, but I'm an independent too, because of I could go either way. You know, when it really comes down to a vote, where if someone actually intrigues me into what the issues really are, that's going to help me with my family.
Right.
And then you look at today's world. All right, we have a president. Yeah, he's outspoken. He says things that people you may not like. Well, when he says it, oh, that's not presidential. But he's basically, in his eyes, he's a real person. Like, he reaches out that way. But then now look at the way the country works. How do you badmouth a person because you dislike the way he talks? But look at the country. The country's doing great.
Well, there's where like when we were talking about hate, how the kid did the hoax and try to make it like it was a Trump supporter. People hate him so much that they cannot see anything good that this man does.
Yep. And that's the sad thing. You know, you go around from state to state. And I know there's states out there that doesn't have everything that other states have, but believe me, that's their private policies in that state. It has nothing to do with the president.
Well, people keep saying
that actually went in.
Right, but people keep saying that, that tax cut, only the rich people benefit, and that middle class.
Everybody keeps forgetting. At the end of the day, how it really worked was when that tax plan came in, everybody got put in a different tax bracket. So you winded up coming home with more money weekly. You know, it depends on your paycheck, but if it was a low paycheck, all right, you got a little increase. And if it was a high, you got a little bit more increase. But you're not paying into the system as much. There's more money in your pocket, no matter how you look at it. The only part that wasn't where people say, is it fair? You have states that have state tax, and you only could claim like $10,000 for your property taxes. But that when the tax plan came in, Trump tried to get rid of the state tax, because most of the country runs on that they don't have it. Only certain states have it.
Right.
If you got rid of that state tax, guess what? It wouldn't affect you. But because the governors and the mayors don't want to get rid of that in their states because they're money hungry, because that's basically what it is. Because other states can run without it. How can those states not? They can't even work with it. They even need more money constantly because they keep raising your state taxes.
Right.
It's all about because they're money hungry and they want to blame the president. But you know what? His policy actually would have worked if they would have cut down on their state tax.
What do you think? Getting in, see how we're talking about with the taxes, and right away people say it only helps the rich people. Why do you think that it's more on the Democratic side? I don't know if it's more towards the socialist view, but why do you think a lot of them, they hate rich people? And even when you hear like young minds that are more on a Democratic side, and maybe their family's Democrat, like they'll always knock rich. That's because that person's rich and they should share their money. And where do you think this comes from, that people just hate? I mean, that's why I think that whole incident just happened in Manhattan with Amazon.
Yep.
That was another thing.
Because this is how it works. Throughout all the years, many years, that the Democratic Party was for the working class. So they had different views on the way money should be spent, but they did work. That's when both parties always worked together to make policies, whether it was a Democratic government running it or if it was a Republican. But they were able to work together because they had the same, at the end, they always had the same view, just different ways of getting there. Today, now, it's a totally different view. So they have all this hate. So the Democrats, what they do is they put all this hate, like, it's the rich people, it's the rich people. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. How many poor people employ people? None. How many rich people do? All of them. So if you keep hammering the rich people and keep taking away, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to take their business, take their money, and go to other countries.
Or other states, if one, right. Or even that could even be from state to state. Depending on how New York is.
It can be. Right. Well, that's what Amazon did. Amazon just looked at it and just said, all right, listen, Cuomo and de Blasio is ready to work with me, but this newcomer who's coming up, Ocasio, I forget her name exactly. Cortez, right. That she's coming up, and you know what? She don't agree with what we want to do here, and she made this whole attack, so now he pulled the plug, and he's going to Virginia, and basically she's pulling the plug saying, well, you were giving him a $3 billion tax cut, why don't we just take that money and put it for the people? It was like, listen, the $3 billion was the taxes that were going to be paid. So would it increase New York City? She thought it was like New York City had $3 billion.
Oh my goodness!
No, it was by. Do you know the average job in New York would have been $150,000 paycheck
through Amazon?
That was going to work for them.
Oh
through
my
Amazon.
God!
And she thought she was all great. Oh, look at what I did. Well, guess what? You just hurt a ton of people. It sucks that Amazon is a powerhouse on how big they are. But at the end of the day, hey, listen, it employs a lot of people.
Right. But see, that's what I just don't... I don't get that, Andrew.
It's just like Walmart. Do you see her go after Walmart?
Yes.
I mean, look at Walmart. Don't you think Walmart gets every cut? They have there's videos out there. It's called the Walmart effect on how they built up their company and how they destroy other small businesses to become big. But at the end of the day, they employ thousands and thousands of people.
Right. So it's almost like you're afraid.
You want them to shut their doors?
Right. So it's like, what are we doing now? Like, is this is the new world? Like, so who's going to succeed in America? You're going to be afraid to.
That's where when you say socialism, that's where conservative comes in, because that's what we're built on.
I think people better wake up and pay. Right, people better wake up and pay attention to this But you know what I noticed? Do you see all the Democrats, the money that they have? Oh, it's like they're like little mouse. Nobody talks about it on that side, but they'll point at everybody on a Republican side. I don't get that.
Yep. Well, the way you have to look at it, and it goes on both sides. Name one poor politician. Name one.
Oh, right. But they sit around and put it in put it in everyone's heads that's sitting home.
It's only Republicans.
And they say, those like
Nancy Pelosi's filthy rich.
Right.
Filthy rich.
Right. And they'll sit there and they're running for president. What's her name? Kamala
Harris.
Right, okay.
Yeah, Kamala Harris.
So she even made a comment like, those rich people and I'm for you guys. Honey, you're rich. Like, we're all sitting here. Like, are people buying this when they say this and they're knocking rich people?
That's what made me actually love Trump, because he wasn't scared to say, yes, I am rich. I worked for it, but I'm rich.
Right.
Those people will never say what they have. They just want to knock what other people have.
I know, but...
Stand up for what you have.
Right, but like this is what it came down to, and these young kids that are growing up and they're thinking in their head, I just had said this to one of my son's friends, you think that because a person has money that they should share their money, and this kid said, yeah, I think that it's fair. So I said, so if your mom and dad had a business and now their business became $1 million business, and you saw your parents through the years work hard to build up that business, and now let's just say that business now is worth 10 or 20 million, and you saw what your parents did to get there. So you think because they worked so hard to get there, now you're going to just look at them like, oh, those rich people should help all these other people that there are people at times that need help. But there's a lot of people that sat on their ass for all those years that your parents worked to get where they have. And now because we don't separate the people. You don't know who they are. Who's the ones that sat out on their couch and they're just putting their hand out and saying, well, you're rich, you should help me. And then the ones that need it. But people don't see that part until they're in it. I don't begrudge anyone that's a millionaire.
What it comes down to is much as like the liberals when they're sitting there saying free school, free this, free that, there is nothing for free for America. Nothing. Yeah, everybody has to pay their dues. The only people that they help more than the American people, and I think that the liberals and the Democrats should wake up on, because that's what they're standing for, is the immigrants. They want to give it to them. But they won't give it to the American citizen.
I know.
Because that's the way it works. They'll come in this country. I mean, even when I was a kid growing up, it was immigrants would come in this country and people would get government grants to open up a business. Right. Do Americans get that? No. Now look at it today. Now it's like, get the illegals in here and we're going to give them everything. Why wouldn't you want to come here?
Right. But why wouldn't you want to do that for Americans so everybody has a fair share to do good and get this education?
Well, that's why when I say like 2020 is going to come and Donald Trump's going to run, he'll be rerunning, and there's not one Democrat that can actually, I don't even think they're going to, 99.9% can even put a dab into him, what he's accomplished in the country and what he stands for. There's nothing they could do, because anything they do is going to bring the country back down. It doesn't matter. They don't stand for any positive. It's just negative. And if people understood that nothing's for free, because nothing is for free. And if you want to give everything to illegals coming in the country and not take care of your own, well, guess what? It's going to be a rude awakening.
Right. Well, I do hope that comes up when they.
Well, you could count on Donald Trump bringing that up.
As far as you think Donald Trump will point out, like,
you help the people that actually need the help, not the people that don't need the help. You get them back working again, and what you do is you build a wall, keep illegals out, and people that want to come into the country legally, you work with them, and you help them to get ahead, because now they're going to be American citizens. Anybody who's an American citizen should get the help first. Period. Help your own before you help others.
Right.
Isn't that how it works in a normal household?
That's what I think.
When you do good, you could do good for others. But you have to do good for yourself first.
And you know, people that employ illegal immigrants, I don't even want to call out businesses, but there's businesses that employ illegal immigrants, right? They think it's a joke that the president called out a national emergency. They're laughing and they say, "Oh, I guess I'll have to fire all my workers." And they think this is all fun. And when you ever say to them, you know, you hire illegals, well, you know, you can't get an American. They don't want to work hard and they don't want to do this. Well, you're an American citizen and you started out as a painter. And then look, you just started to come up with, you know, put together your own company. Well, wait until what's going to happen is with all the stuff that illegal immigrants, I mean, they come here and they feel like, oh, wow, we're here. Look what we're getting. They're going
to take over the businesses.
That's when those people that are sitting back and it doesn't affect them. So they're looking at it, oh, I think this is a joke, and they don't care about all these people coming over because they're hiring them and paying them less money. So who are they kidding? And then one day what's going to happen is that business that you put together, they're going to outsmart you. And then those people will get affected. Don't you notice that?
Yep.
People, they sit
the
back, right, until it affects them.
That's just the way it works.
And they're sitting home, or as far as now. So that has to do with just hiring illegals. Then the other part is people, how the drugs come here. And you could have a parent that a child overdose, and we know that most drugs are coming through the southern border. And then the other part is a parent that lost their child to an illegal.
Yep. Well, you know what? Let's go back to the drug thing. Because if you ever look at Democrats, they'll sit there and say, "Oh, that comes through the regular part of the border, and they're getting it through there. That's what we need to do." Is that because when the numbers come in, we catch so many, so those are the numbers you are. But when they come through the desert and we didn't catch them, so you don't see those numbers. So they don't matter because they're still getting in here because we stopped so many at the border coming in when they come in through the trucks or whatever. but you're not stopping the ones that come through with their knapsacks on their back and come through the deserts.
Right. Well, how could you have... Right. You can't have a statistic on that.
No, you can't. That's what I'm saying. So they only go after the one. They're not putting the real thing out there. It comes in all ways. So if Donald Trump builds a wall, at least it will stop that one way. Now we could concentrate on another way. Because building the wall is not going to solve the whole thing.
Right.
But it's just going to put a dabber on people coming in. So now you have full control of the situation.
Right.
That's why you need the wall. You have to have control of the situation.
And did you realize that, I'll tell you what, with Trump bringing up the immigration and illegals coming here, I never even realized that this problem that we're having, we've had it for years, and every president promised to address it, and not one president ever did.
And the biggest part is, every president that did address it got money for a wall. And I don't know even where that money went. That's where the government went. And this president's trying to get the money to actually build a wall and do the job the right way. Barack Obama was president, and he got billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars for not even what Trump wants to do. Billions. And Trump wants to do it for not even a smidgen of what Obama did. Where'd all that money go for border security? Where'd it go? But now all the Democrats, because Obama's not president, it's unethical, it's racist, it's all
immoral.
These things. And I think it really is. They're trying to get the illegals in because they need the illegals, because Donald Trump is actually gaining on the black vote, and that's what they're now trying to concentrate on, the immigrants. They need their vote because they're losing their status.
Yeah, this is where I feel
truly believe that.
I really hope that Americans are home and they're opening up their eyes, because a lot of things are happening right in front of us. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we're all Americans. And it's as if the rug is being pulled from right under our feet, and people better wake up.
I'm an open-minded person. I like to listen to all opinions and listen to everybody's point. Because you could change my mind on things. Maybe I look at something one way, and then suddenly you could open my eyes. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, if the country's doing good, it's just like if you have a car. If it's not broke, why are you going to fix it?
Right.
If the country's not broke right, it's not broke. You may not agree with the person who's putting it out there, but look at what he's done. The country's not broke right now. Actually, the country's prospering.
Right. And we should.
That's why he's getting reelected in 2020.
Right. Well, that could be. That'll be our next conversation. I wanted to go through the whole list of who we see running and what you think about it. Know what else I wanted to before we hang up? I wanted to tell you that I seen something on. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I seen something on Twitter, and I just couldn't believe it was ABC News that had put out a story. And here it is. Listen to how this reads. It says, what apparently started as a home invasion turned quickly into a frightening scene for the suspects after the resident started shooting. Do you see how they worded this?
Yep.
This is just crazy.
That's what I'm saying. They're just out of touch where it should have. They should be praising the people that protect their home.
Right. I just think that this is the stuff that it's like. I don't care what you are, a Democrat, Republican. Are you listening to what the heck is going on here? Right.
We're American. We're all American. Doesn't matter who you are, your race, nothing, religion. We're all American.
Right. And
we have to keep the country going forward, not behind.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. So we covered, a couple of things. There's other stuff, but we could just take that to another conversation. We'll pick up. I want to go, but we have plenty of time to go over who's running in 2020. We could have a fun conversation with that one too. But I think this was good. This was good. We covered a couple things.
Yep.
This was just what was going on with current events. We'll see what ends up happening with Jussie Smollett. We'll see what happens with that. And I had no idea about the Colin Kaepernick thing, so I learned that on this conversation. And I guess that's it. So till next time, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, you're welcome. Good conversation. Good conversation. All right, bye-bye.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Okay, so thank you for listening. That was just a couple of current events that we went over. If anybody's ever interested in coming on this podcast and discussing whether it be current events or something that's even just happening in your life, I'm open to anything. I welcome anybody. So till next time, take care.